people to read news if it's sensational, if it's negative. But I think when we think about, at the most fundamental level, our world is doing well. And that's the context I'd like to start. You know, when you think about the last 50 years in our world, or for that matter in Canada, there's been enormous progress. And over that 50 years in the world, we've gone from a level of people living in extreme poverty of 50% down to 9%. In that same 50 years, average lifespans have increased by 12 years. We've got a situation where there are vastly more families living in a place where they have access to clean water, electricity, and education than ever before. And in Canada, not only have we made enormous progress in terms of social progress, research, but we've seen really big changes in some of the things that are most important to us in our communities. The crime rate in Canada since the 1990s has been cut in half. You know, if you think about what's happened with moving women into the workforce, we have more work to do in that regard, but over the last 40 years, 1/3 of our economic growth in this country has happened because women have moved into the workforce. So there's many positives. Our immigration system is, I would argue, best in the world. We had in 2018, 80% of our population growth in this country was as a result of immigration. And just so you put that in context, if we stopped immigration today, within a decade our population would start to decline. And our GDP growth would go down, our real GDP growth would go down to about 1%. So that success, bringing people here, I mean, it's important because we can see that it has a huge impact here. People can create a great life here. But it also, as people in this room know, shows that we can be successful together. And I think as we think about that success, the hard work and the efforts that people in business like yourselves have put into our country, the results have been strong. Since the year 2000, so over the last couple of decades, Canada has had, and I know there's been some challenging years, but over that 20-year period, or almost 20-year period, we've had the #1 level of GDP growth among G7 countries. So things have gone well. When people tell me that things aren't going well, I just can't buy that. I look at that frame and I say, we clearly are doing well. And like many of you, I get the opportunity to travel around the world and see the challenges in other parts of the world. And I come back to Canada and I always feel such a great sense of pride when I get here because of how well we're doing and what a beacon of hope we are for so many in the world. I also know that when you look at some statistics, you see that. We recently had a report that came out from the OECD talking about measures, they called it the Better Living Index, measures that they judge how people's well-being in different countries is and how happy people are. And Canada came out #1 among G7 countries in terms of happiness and well-being. And we came out not only #1 among G7 countries, but we were at the very, very top with the Scandinavian countries and Switzerland and Australia. And of course, all those countries are significantly smaller than Canada. So you know, we know that there's much more to do, but I think it's always important to start with that, you know, really important frame. But the question then is, why is it that so many people are frustrated? You know, because we recognize that there is a level of frustration, that there's a concern out there. And I think we have to recognize that that people are feeling anxious. When I go to G7 meetings with G7 finance ministers or G20 meetings with G20 finance ministers from the biggest countries in the world from an economic standpoint, when there are no reporters in the room, you know, what do we talk about? Well, I will tell you that the thing that we worry about most that's generating that sense of concern and frustration is income inequality. We worry about income inequality between states and within states. And I guess you think about that and you ask why. Well, I think we recognize that globally, economies are changing. We're seeing that, you know, international trade and new technologies they provide really great opportunities